So recently, I tried to update everything. So like some of my stuff broke yesterday, so I didn't really stream yesterday because of that. Because I was like trying to put everything back together and pick up all the pieces. But one of the reasons for that was because there were some mismatches between some of the kernel modules that I needed to compile and the GCC version that the kernel itself was compiled with. So like there were kernel modules with different GCC version compiling on a kernel that used an older version to compile it, and so it broke a couple of things. So I was looking around, and what I did was I installed a different kernel, the Zen kernel. Oh, and I've been running on it for the last day, and I don't have much to say about it, but I may address it later on. It's supposed to have like performance improvements because it changes a couple things. But the reason why I went to this is because all my kernel modules compiled just fine then. I had my NVIDIA kernel modules loading up again and things like that. So everything compiled up just fine, and I have the headers and everything. So basically, the idea is that it makes certain performance things, it improves performance on desktop and stuff and brings some other things back and whatever, backports and whatnot. And so it has some small enhancements, and there are like only a few places that really have the kernel. And being as I'm on Artix, I believe they just ported over the default Arch Zen kernel over. And it's in the Artix repos that way. So this, I found another place that had like this list of improvements, but this one's more detailed, and this is kind of the first time I'm reading it. So like, this specifically, it tweaks the scheduler, interrupt request, and stuff like that. So one thing that I noticed is I think the boot up time is marginally quicker than with the standard kernel. So there's that. Playing some of the games I still have like yet to really dig into, but along with messing around with my keyboard, I guess that's one other thing to check and see is how much more performance improvement do I have. So like trying to play Stellaris and watching YouTube videos at the same time still doesn't like really improve anything. It might marginally improve it, but I'd have to go back and look at the quality the video was knocked down to, because now that's my bottleneck is hardware and not so much the bandwidth that I'm using anymore. Let's see. Mu MUQSS and not enabled by default. Let's see. Do do do. So the RAM isn't, so it goes into swap and RAM differently. Budget fair queuing as scheduled. See, and this is the cool thing with like open source kernels is you can like tweak it for like those very specific things that you need to like squeak out better performance. Um, that's one thing that I think. Oh, I've got a Gen 2 build on one of my hard drives that I might end up like putting the Zen kernel on to kind of mess around with it and see how it improves performance. So I haven't really played around with Proton games with it yet, but I'm wondering how much this would improve the performance of Proton based games and like if I can get better speeds and whatnot. It could be marginal again still, but it would be interesting to find out because the Zen kernel is supposed to be optimized for heavier load. So if any of you have used a Zen kernel before, like again, this is my first time using like alternate kernels other than maybe LTS kernels. Um But yeah, if anybody has any tips and pointers with using the Zen kernel and has way more experience with it than I do, then those comments are welcome. And other than that, I'll probably be back with my foray into the Zen kernel like down the road. So, yeah, and my update broke all my fonts and stuff, so that's exciting. But yeah, the links and all are down in the description, and I'll see you guys later.